The best player on the Bengals defense was non-existent against the Eagles. And to make matters worse, it was a former Bengal who kept him in check all day. But that's not what concerns me the most about this defense. In this video, I'll explain what does. What's up, Bengals fans? John Sheeran of A2C Sports Cincinnati here, and Trey Hendrickson, he had a rough day on Sunday. Everyone on the Bengals defense had a rough day, but Trey especially struggled because this was a game where he was supposed to play really well. The Eagles' offensive line as a whole has been battered by injuries recently. They were down 2 starters this game. They were even down 3 when Lane Johnson went out for a play, but he came back, and he probably didn't even play at 100% for the rest of the game. But this was a matchup for the Bengals' defensive line, especially Trey Hendrickson, to dominate. And Trey was only limited to just a couple of pressures all day. And the man responsible for limiting Trey to just those 2 pressures was none other than former Bengals offensive lineman Fred Johnson. That's right. The same Fred Johnson who played for 3 years for the Bengals from 2019 to 2021. He is now the Eagles' starting left tackle as Jordan Mailata is out with a hamstring injury. Now remember, Johnson lasted for a few years with the Bengals because he proved to be a really capable backup. He could play both tackle spots. He was a really dominant run blocker. I mean, really, he still is a dominant run blocker, but pass protection and consistency were never his strong suits. And that's why this was a matchup where Trey was supposed to dominate. And Fred put the clamps on him all game. Like, this matchup wasn't even close. There were several examples where Trey was just getting walled out of the pocket, like he was going up against Walter Jones or something. But no, he was going up against Fred Johnson, who had the best possible revenge game he could have asked for. It would obviously be wonderful if every game Trey Hendrickson could have 2 sacks and several pressures just like he did in each of the previous 2 games. But sometimes you're just going to have an off day, and that's that. What isn't excusable, however, is the rest of the defensive line not giving him any sort of help whatsoever. Trey Hendrickson at least had 2 pressures in this game according to PFF. The rest of the Bengals defensive line combined had 2. One from Joseph Asai and one from BJ Hill. Where was Myles Murphy? Where is Sheldon Rankins? Trey is obviously the star of this show, but there has never been in the history of the NFL a competent pass rushing unit with only one guy who can win one-on-one matchups consistently. And there is no one else on this Bengals defensive line who can do that on a week-to-week basis. And we saw firsthand the ramifications of that. When there was 0 pass rush on Jalen Hurts, he was able to dissect this Bengals secondary that already had a tough matchup against both A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. The worst part about this is there's no real fixes to this outside of the Bengals making a very unlikely trade. We know how this team doesn't like to operate at the trade deadline. All the pieces that they wanted for this year, they're all there. Everyone's healthy. It's not like the first 4 weeks where they had several guys out. It's just a matter of all of them playing up to their ability with some consistency, unlike what we saw on Sunday. Trey Hendrickson will be fine. He had an off week. He's probably still going to make the Pro Bowl this year. He's going to get back on track. As for his teammates, though, that's another question entirely, and one the Bengals desperately need to figure out.